Karen, and finally on the rugby front, as I mentioned, obviously Joost had a very fitting send-off. I mean, he had been unwell for a long time, but when he did go, it was really quite amazing just to see the tributes that were paid to him and just remembering what an amazing player and person he was. And then, of course, also this weekend, the rugby community paid tribute to former All Black Sione Loaki, who died at the age of 35. So some sad news on the rugby front.
Very, very sad. Starting with obviously with Joost, it was sad to see him pass away last Monday. As you said, social media inundated with tributes from around the world, and not only from the rugby community, all sporting communities paying tribute to him. The memorial service on Friday at his beloved Loftus Versfeld. Again, it was fantastic to see his teammates from the 1995 Rugby World Cup all carrying in the coffin into the stadium. And not a dry eye in the house at all when his niece sang, when his brother spoke. Stefan de Blanche did a fantastic job, I thought, as sort of the MC of the event, and it was very, very professionally handled, a fitting tribute to a great player. Perhaps one of the best scrum masters we'll ever have, and certainly one of the best in the world's ever seen. So Joost's gone. It's very sad. Things move on, unfortunately, but we were greeted with the news that Sione Loaki had passed away at 35, incredibly young. We remember him as being this bullocking number 8 forward for both the Chiefs and the All Blacks. I think he played 17 tests for the All Blacks. He like a lot of these New Zealanders seem to be just bigger than, larger than life, appear bigger than everyone else on the field, incredibly fast and mobile, agile for his size. So that was again very, very sad news. Again, Sonny Bill Williams, a lot of those sort of players paying tribute to him, obviously very close friends with them. So yeah, it's incredibly sad, and it's not just those two. There've been a number of sad cases, and this motor neuron disease. We were remembered that Tennyson Lee passed away not so long ago from the same disease. So it is very, very sad to see anyone obviously pass away at that age. Certainly when you've grown accustomed to seeing them on your TV screens, and they feel like part of you, part of your family, that that they are lost at such a young age.
Finally, Rob, staying with rugby, Super Rugby pre-season, there's been some injury and transfer news with the Stormers. What else can you tell us? You said you watched the Lions Stormers game this weekend.
Yes, I popped along as a sort of casual spectator for the game. It wasn't televised, of course, so a lot of people around the country couldn't get to see the game between, clearly two of the better South African sides. We know the Lions were the best performing side last season and finalists. So it was interesting to see them come down to Cape Town for a tough pre-season friendly against the Stormers. Not too much you could read into it. It was a real higgledy-piggledy sort of match, as you'd expect in sort of early February heat. 3 o'clock kickoff in Cape Town. You didn't envy those players too much coming out of a pre-season sort of environment, but they went at it sort of hammer and tongs. Quite a physical game. Already some casualties for the Stormers, unfortunately. Joan de Jong, I think, has done an MCL, which means 10 to 12 weeks on the sidelines. Leon Zas, who, as we know, made some good strides as a winger, and has also got abilities as a fullback, and played for South Africa A last year. So clearly, a young player on the sort of national radar, broke his leg and out for a year. So already some major setbacks there. But otherwise, the Stormers pretty decent. They won 57-40. I think it was 9 tries to 6. So it was a real sort of ping pong. Some dreadful defending by both sides at times. Maybe you could blame the sort of the heat and the fact that the intensity wasn't quite there, given that it was simply a friendly with lots of substitutions and so on. But the Lions will be very concerned that they at one stage leaked 33 points without reply, because they were 21-7 up, and all of a sudden they conceded 33 points without reply to go 40-21 down, and then we had a couple of tries to each side towards the end. So hard to gauge really, but I think the Lions will be happy with their counter-attacking play. I think we got some notice that they're going to run the ball from deep and run some interesting angles as usual during the competition this year. And the Stormers will be fairly chuffed that they also managed to score some tries, because of course their fans are yearning for this return to so-called province rugby style at Newlands.
See, they've signed Bjorn Besson.
Yes, interesting one.
Any other big transfers?
Well, highly experienced guy. Good to have now, considering that they've got issues in their sort of back division with already a couple of injuries that I've mentioned. So we know that Bjorn Besson is a good poacher, good under the high ball, particularly, and chasing, good on the sort of kick chase, magnificent in that respect, almost a bit of a specialist in that area. And Joe Peterson has actually been training with the Stormers again. We know that he's an old Stormer's utility back, who had a spell with the Sharks, is now based in Japan and is sort of in his long off season there. So he's been training and mentoring apparently, and I believe will be available for if in a time of crisis. So their depth is sort of a bit of sort of win some, lose some. But interesting exercise for both teams. But I think we all now yearn for the competition proper in less than a fortnight.